we've all worked in the service industry, right? We all have stories.
You mean like restaurant or retail?
Well, yeah, all that shit. Well, you've got some experience in a casino.
I've done my fair diligence in the casino.
How would you guys rate customer service, like hospitality?
I fucking hate people.
I think that's fair.
I will straight up demonetize you right now and say I hate humans.
How do you rate customer service? Like, how fun it is? I actually think it's very fun.
So you like dealing with people?
Yeah, and I think the camaraderie of like that you get with your staff. Think about like the very first place that we worked. I don't know if we can say like where we worked. Half of those people, we've been to some of them people's weddings, birth of their children.
Do you not think that would happen?
Made
in
lifelong
office?
friends. I know, but I think it's like being through the trenches and the dregs with those people makes a different...
Like, you don't think accountants go through the trenches?
I can tell you right now, I work in an office for the last 15 years. Some of the people I hope to never see again. And you can leave that in.
Yeah. Well,
that means Jim from HR.
I sort of agree that like in almost any work environment, you'll probably have people you connect with.
So great.
James is the head of HR.
You're like...
Sorry, Drew.
You'll probably always have people you connect with and people you don't connect with on like that sort of level of like hobbies and stuff like that. It's I don't know. It's a fascinating industry to me because I've been in it most of my life and I'm not really fond of people in general. Like especially dealing with strangers that potentially could treat you like shit versus most treat you well enough.
And you
but you're good at it.
Well,
you can fake your way through anything. I mean, fake it till you make it, right?
Well, Drew is bartender, and like me at the casino, dealing with obviously an alcohol environment. And now my new job with an alcohol environment.
I'm noticing a trend.
Right. Well, like you get a different clientele, right? Like you don't like. There's obviously another caveat, to the group of people you're dealing with, is because they are intoxicated, they're unhappy. Like at a casino, 80% of the people are pissed at me because I took their money, not because it's funny because I'm physically the one taking their money, but I'm not metaphorically.
Ben, can I ask you the serious question of the evening? Then, do you think it's easier to deal with an 80-year-old lady who you just probably might have overcooked the last steak she'll ever eat in her life versus a drunkard?
Well, I'm not putting in the I've dealt with 80-year-old women at the casino, so that could have been the last time they rolled the dice.
I'm just saying,
and Josh,
hell hath no fury to overcook somebody's sirloin tips.
Okay, have you ever taken $14,000 from a guy in less than 20 minutes?
Okay.
All right, so wait.
What level?
What
level? No, not I am kind of curious about this.
Drew, go get the ruler. We're gonna finish this the right way.
We're gonna figure out whose dick is bigger.
The level of anger from and this. Actually, you know what? The funny thing is, and honestly, with a casino is. The person who loses in general, the guy who lost $14,000 in 20 minutes to me was not as angry as the guy who I probably took his last $20 that he owned. Literally the last $20 that he probably owned.
That's on him though.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a difference of how that person is. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I had $20 at the casino but money in my bank account and that was my last one, I'd be more angry at that than somebody who probably has millions of dollars and $20 don't mean crap to them.
But self accountability, holding that guy who clearly has an addiction, because gambling is an addiction in the same way alcohol can be an addiction, drugs can be an addiction, anything that has a dopamine hit can be an addiction.
Which can almost be anything in general.
Right. So the guy who's betting his last 20 is also doing it in that I don't want to say get rich quick scheme mentality, but he's I'm going to hit this blackjack. I'm going to get 35 now. Now I'm going to take that 35. I'm going to put $1 on the lucky ladies. That's going to be a $200 hit. I'm going to also win the hand, so that's 20. I'm going to now be up to 400. Then I'm going to do this, and that's how his mind.
But that's just a pipe dream.
But it is. But when he loses that hand and lost that $20, his pipe dream, this self-built up dream, just completely crumbled.
In the blink of an eye.
Right. Who do you think he's going to blame, though? in all honesty, like,
Oh, he's not going to blame
psychologically-
himself. He's going to
Right.
blame you. Okay,
Right.
I see what you're
Maybe
saying.
by
And-
extension the casino, but
Well, right.
you're
But
like
on
a
the face,
you're
a
at
scapegoat.
that moment, right?
You're
That's-
feeding the beast that killed him.
That's the maitre d'. That's the junior
the
senator.
waiter
Right?
that
like,
didn't cook the steak.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I was gonna say. So yeah, we all have, like I said, you got the casino. Me and Josh have restaurants. I've got
Yeah.
front of the house and a little bit of back of the house. You've got same. You
Yep.
ran dining rooms and ran kitchens and dish rooms and
yeah.
buffet style stuff. We've got a sort of a history with culinary with the food thing as well. And as far as education goes, like, what do you guys have for horror stories? Like you said, you Josh mentioned it's like we shared the trenches together. We shared a foxhole.
There is definitely something.
So
like
let's all, before we watch
AHSOKA.
AHSOKA,
it's AHSOKA.
before we watch AHSOKA,
AHSOKA.
let's just share a couple horror stories from some war stories, if you will.
Which direction you want to go?
Well, I have
You wanna
a-
start with the Joshua.
Joshua, you go
The Drusiv.
So immediately when you said it, I immediately thought of. So I won't say the restaurant, but I will say that we live in Central PA, near Hershey Park, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, no, I gotta set the stage of why this.
right,
Because
I know, I
think
just-
if people don't understand, they'll just be complaining. Because many people work till like 2 a.m. at bars and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I was at a chain-style restaurant working on the Friar, and we live near Hershey Park, and Hershey Park also has Hershey Arena. So the park closes at 10. Usually if there's a concert, they get out at like 11. So this chain restaurant closes at 10 o'clock, but we were balled up, as Esteban would say. We're in the weeds. We used to call it pages. So we had 3 pages. So think about a monitor that's above you that shows you how many orders you are. So if there's like 30 orders to a page, we were 3 pages in. So we had 90 basically orders for tables to go out for that we were behind at 10 o'clock when the restaurant closed. The owner of this franchise happened to be in the area and says, I'll give everybody $100, anything they want to drink after the shift, if we just stay open for another hour. You know, we'll stay open, we'll get through these 90 pages. The hour hits, right? It's now 11 o'clock. The concert that was in the area lets out. So people are still coming to the door. He comes back and he says, guys, hate to do it to you. We're going to go, same $100, but we're going to go another hour. So it's now 12. Long story short, he's kept coming back and saying there's still people coming in the door. There's people trying to leave the park. It's 1 a.m. until the grill cook finally says so that's 3 hours. He's like, we're 3 hours over our shift. By OSHA laws, he's like, you got to give us breaks.
Right.
I'm on the Fryer. My face literally looks like the Saudi Arabian desert covered in oil. I've dropped so many chicken tenders and French fries.
Colorful metaphor.
So
Has he given you 100 for each hour, or is it still the
no,
same?
he wanted to
100?
give us $100, and then he was going to give us a bar drink.
Nah,
because you can drink it.
$100 per hour. I'd be like, fucking keep it going.
Right.
I guess.
Like, I'll do 8 hours straight then at that point.
Let's go to 4 in the morning.
I'm just saying.
This is 100 on top. For
He-
1 hour, 100 is great. For 3 hours, though, you're starting to push it.
Well, I'm just saying. So it's 3 hours into it. We finally get all these checks out, and basically the main horror of the story is because this guy that was on the grill was actually a really cool dude. He probably worked there for 15 years. Literally throws his apron down, doesn't clean his station, doesn't clean anything up. The last check's out, and he says later. And that literally pushed this guy over to the edge. The dishwasher left.
Yeah.
I ended up staying with like 2 other people, like not the dishwasher, the other prep guy, and we like basically cleaned the stuff up. But like, yeah, I quit like the next week.
Like, that was fucked up.
But think about how much that guy probably made.
Right.
At
Well, the owner, I mean,
Well, that's
Yeah.
and that's the top-down theory of capitalism to a T, where like everyone's like, oh well, the owner does accrue risks and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but they're the ownership of something, and when you have workers for you, now obviously this is not a slave situation, but like
felt like it.
but like even a paid worker can get to the slave mentality level. You're just not doing it at there's a varying degree level, right? Like obviously it's never going to be to the same level, but the idea is at ownership state you're basically the Lord, and then you're using serfs to work a system for you. By having the land, by having the ownership, he doesn't accrue the level of problem that people who try to piggyback and try to say capitalism is great, try to really give it. He took really no risk in making you guys stay open that much later.
Well, some of those people definitely had more than 4.5 hours since their last break. So if somebody wanted to go to like an OSHA law thing or something,
Pennsylvania doesn't require... And OSHA would have been okay with it then. Otherwise, there would have been someone stopping it. I know, like, working at... So one of my war stories would have been way back, restaurant in the Hershey area. And this goes back to when I was dish tank and a miner. I had a... No, I bring up the miner part for a specific reason. I would clock in at 4.
Well, there's a lot of caverns in the area. I mean, there's a lot of...
Oh, yes,
Indian Echo.
Yeah, there's a lot of need for miners.
Certain days I would clock in at 2. Certain days I would clock in at 4. We closed the restaurant at 10. As dish tank, I'm last man out, basically. Everything else has to be done. Food prep is done, waitress is done, busboy is done. Everything has to be done before me.
And you're covered in slop.
Well, right. But
wet, soaking, just...
But like 2 a.m.
In the winter time, oh God, when you leave.
Oh, your clothes would crust up, like your jeans would like cling to your leg and crust up because it's like frozen outside. I hate it.
This is 2 a.m. I'm leaving there sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm a miner. Technically...
Yeah, that's
I don't
definitely
think you're allowed to work past 9.
No, I'm not allowed to work past midnight.
Oh, midnight.
Well, 9 on school days.
Yeah.
Well, this was summer, so because it was like Hershey Park peak is why it was so late.
That's what I'm saying. I think we're all got screwed over in the service industry due to Hershey Park.
Well, it's a tourist town. So
thanks, Milton Hershey. It is his birthday today, by the way.
It was. It's appropriate.
Or yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Well,
what's the 13th?
Today.
Today?
Yeah.
So it's today.
He was born on the 13th. That's not good.
The manager would tell me that she was adding the time to my front end. Anything I worked past midnight, she would chop off and add to the front time. I, as like a 16-year-old,
trusted her.
I wasn't really combing my paychecks enough. And I'm also, like, back then it's like $7.50 an hour, whatever it was.
Dude, that lady...
Oh, she cut that... I clocked out every night at like 11:58.
I can't believe that lady allowed herself to fall asleep at night knowing she robbed some kid of $21.50
right
every shift.
day.
But you know the
night
it's like 2 packs of cigarettes. I mean, we're talking a minuscule amount of money here.
But that's not even really the money though. Too at that point, like when you're making a 16-year-old stay at 2 a.m.
Yeah, but at 16 and your paycheck's $300. I mean, $20 is almost 10% of your pay.
What's the shame is she was preying on your.
It is a lot.
She's also because you were still a young strapping lad. The world is your oyster.
She took hours of your life that you could have been playing World of Warcraft.
It's the fact of basically almost 2 hours every night during that
fucking bitch.
So that's basically 10 hours I lost.
She kidnapped herself.
Right. And then the fact that she would look at me and go, yeah, don't worry, it got added to the front end of it. I'm like, okay, cool, sure, yeah, great, whatever. This is like my second job ever. Don't want to rock the boat.
She's preying on your naivete.
I will give this other horror story.
Did you ever get revenge from her? Did you leave her high and dry at least for a last shift? Or?
Like your last shift, you just walk out and you pretend to wash dishes all night?
Yeah.
You just shove them in the back room or whatever?
Yeah. I probably honestly made that 21...
no forks!
I probably made my $21 up in the amount of chicken tenders I ate there, though. Because at the end of the night, all that food came back to us.
That's sticking it to them.
Man, I ate a shit ton of chicken tenders.
All that food came back to you?
Like from the food prep section. Like anything that didn't get sent out. No, I'm not eating the shit that came from the front.
Dude, there was people that I used to see that when a steak comes back and it's like, I would not touch that. I don't know that people.
We had a dude named Pop.
You're going to get the hit.
We had a dude named Pop. 60-some-year-old dude, right? Dude. He reminds me of the guy from Waiting in the Dish Tank. Like the guy from Boston Public.
Yeah, the philosophical dude.
Right, yeah.
What was his name?
I forget his name from Waiting.
But he was this kind of guy. 65-some-year-old dude, right?
Lights up a cigarette.
Confucius.
Tell me about your day.
Right, like Confucius old dude, right? He'd just sit there at dish tank, and the busboy would bring the tray up and like put it in front of you, and he would pick through it.
That's
and this
so
was back,
gross.
This was back when was a half smoking, half non-smoking restaurant.
Oh, there'd be ciggy butts?
I saw that man.
That's gross.
I saw that man pick a cigarette out of a baked potato, grab the baked potato with the hand that he had just been like slopping, and no gloves either, but like slopping and doing the dish tank shit with. He just grabbed that baked potato, like
an apple?
Right, got a fucking fish head off of that thing.
You know, it's weird. You ever seen the meme where it just shows a bunch of vultures tearing apart a deer carcass, and it says like something like the servers when there's a recook or something?
Yeah.
It's not just the servers. It's
Right.
also the cooks and the dishwashers. Yeah. Everybody that is not being seen by the general public is grinding through like food that is either like been sitting too long past its time under the heat, or a steak that gets cut. It's like, oh, this is
like recook.
It's like over. It's like it's a fillet. It is medium well, but it was more well done. Somebody back there is just gonna pick that fillet up with their fucking bare ass hand and just start eating it like an apple.
Like that, like a heart.
Like,
just straight, like,
and they'll eat that whole fillet in 30 seconds.
They don't enjoy
And then they'll splash water from the fucking hand sink up into their mouth, and they'll go like this. They'll use a fucking napkin.
It's like hate
and then go
enjoyment.
out to serve the rest of their tables. Like that's how quick it
They're
happens.
not enjoying the food, but they're enjoying what they got out of it. Like a hate enjoyment. It's like a hate fuck. You know what I mean? Like, you're not enjoying the act of the fucking, but you know she might not be enjoying it as much as you are.
Well, I've got a front of the house story for you guys. Okay, this happened years ago as a bar worker. Pretty busy. It's me and this other fellow. We're working the bar. Somewhat busy night. Our bar is mostly full. We got a couple empty seats, and this old fellow sits down. He's wearing a tie-dye like hippie shirt, and he's got a little bag around. He looks like a hippie, but he also looks like he might be in his 70s. He's got a big grizzly white beard and very, very thin white hair on
Harrison
top.
Ford in
just Harrison Ford.
Episode 9.
But he
I ain't combing my
he sits
hair.
down, and the other bartender gets to him first. Okay, so and I'm doing other things, so like I see him sit down, but I didn't even really recognize him or talk to him or anything. The other guy got him a beer and ordered him food because he put napkin in front of him. I'm like, okay, he got something, and right on either side of him, there's these two families, and they got kids at the bar too, which you're allowed in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. But
wait, you're actually allowed to have kids at a bar?
As long as their parents with them.
Oh, okay.
Someone over the age of 25 is the actual law.
Huh.
But so at one point, the guy comes out and he got a Philly cheesesteak. If you're in this Pennsylvania area, I bet that most of the world knows what a Philly cheesesteak is now. Although some people, because we live in a tourist town, sometimes I get people that are like, "What is that?" I'm like, "How do you not know what?" It's like not knowing what.
Where are you from?
It's like not knowing what chicken wings are.
It's a sub. Chicken.
Drew looks back at him and says, "Where are you from? You don't know Gator."
Where the fuck you from, man? Either way, at one point, we're busy. I'm walking in the bar. I pass this guy a couple times because he's right in the middle. And at one point, I pass over, and finally, I just sort of glanced over, and we made eye contact.
Oh.
And that was it was like he turned.
Your soul got sucked into him, didn't you?
Like he
45 minutes later,
his eyes immediately got as wide as can be, and he leans up, and he starts shouting at me. And I'm like, what's happening? And he's like, and he just starts going, "Get the fuck away from me! You get the fuck away from me!" Like, and he's saying, and like, there's little kids on either side, and he's like, "I'll have you fucking fired! You just stay away from me!" I'm like, I look over at the bartender, and I'm like, and he's looking over at me like, because he's overdoing something else, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna leave." And
do you know the meme that just happened to the lady who's like, "Look at that motherfucker in the back of the plane"? Do you know what
no.
that lady? She's like super famous right now because she's like, "He's not human. He's not one of us. This and that." It's like a real popular video that came out of this crazy lady.
Thing?
Yeah, she got ejected from the plane.
Oh,
she's like, "He's not real.
He's not
real.
real.
An alien. He's not one of us," or something. But the thing never pans back.
She was onto it.
That guy saw Drew
Saw
and
through
was
my.
like,
He saw through my ruse.
you know,
Well, no, wait, hold on. I want to finish this because it gets better.
no.
Okay, so I'm like, I run into the service station because I'm just going to get out of this guy's. Something triggered him. Me.
You triggered.
I didn't say a word to him.
He didn't like your musk.
We made eye contact, and it was like making eye contact with like a rabid dog or something. I don't know what happened.
A rabid Wolverine.
A rabid Wolverine, maybe that was old man Logan. I don't know. But I went and got the manager, and I was like, "Hey, you need to get out there. This dude's flipping out. He's dropping f-bombs. He's cursing at me for
The restaurant.
And he's like,
full.
the manager's like, well, what'd you do? I'm like,
What did you do?
well, first of all,
What did you do?
yeah, first of all,
I walked through the restaurant doing my job.
First of all, I resent the fact that you think immediately I'm at fault
Right.
because a crazy man is just screaming at me, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. He's upset, and so he goes out there, and he goes out there, and I'm like watching through like the side side door. I'm like, I'm like kind of like looking at him like, what's happening over here? And he's like, he goes behind the bar to talk to the guy from across the bar, and I see the guy pointing at the manager, and he looks up and he sees me over there, and he's like, points over there, and then he goes, the customer, and I'm like, okay. I start walking towards him, and he goes, no, you stand back. I'm like, the customer still, and is like, what has happened? Like, and he's like, and then finally the old dude picks up his Philly cheesesteak, holds it up like over his head, and he crushes it. And the whole thing, like
display of
the meat, the cheese, the onions, the bread just oozes down his arm. And at this point, the parents have taken their kids away from either side of this man.
So, yeah.
And
Drew, that's not a restaurant or service industry horror story. That was
mental health.
Met the Twilight.
he left them. And we just he didn't. He
didn't pay his bill, did
he
he?
also no. He told
he
he said because of that F word, not fuck. My cheeseburger is now ruined.
That F.
You didn't get a cheeseburger. You got a cheesesteak. I think that's a clear.
Wait a second. Are you saying that the reason he had that entire flip out was because he thought you were a certain sexuality?
I don't know because I wasn't.
I know that you're not, but like, why would he have done that?
But he might have just been saying
he
might have just been saying that as like an insult as well. I don't know.
Right.
But I guess I'll never know.
You'll never know.
I'll never have closure on
He
this.
could have been some crazy like.
My initial theory was I somehow triggered some sort of weird PTSD in him. Maybe I looked like the guy who fucked his wife. Maybe I looked like the
Dude, that's the craziest
the
thing
people
I
he
think I've
killed
ever
in
heard my
Nam.
life. Why didn't you
even
ever
though I don't
tell
look
me
like
this
that? I don't know.
before?
So it was one more thing. He when they security like watched him leave. He went out. He actually went out and got into a car. Like he wasn't even staying at our place.
Yeah.
He went out and got into a car with a U-Haul connected to it. And he drove up near where the entrance is to the restaurant, and there was a hostess out front, like smoking a cigarette. And he ripped off his like tie-dye shirt when he's in the car, and he threw it at her, and said, "You tell that fucker I'll be back," and then drove away.
You got kids, maniac?
Exactly. It was like mania. The man's mania was not confined to the ring.
Wait. We do legitimately need closure to the story. We need to get the hostess, and we need every piece of the people involved in this story.
It's one of the
one little segment here.
like I said.
Like I want the hostess to tell her side of the story, where like she was like minding her own business.
Well, she came in with the shirt, and I'm like, where did you get that? He's like, he threw it at me. I don't know.
Drew's like, somebody's walking to me in my car
I'm
tonight.
like, why you shouldn't be touching that? It's probably covered in lice or whatever.
But I would just love her perspective. Like, so I was out there smoking, right? And dude comes up, throws his tie-dye shirt at me and says, "Tell a fucker I'll be back." And then drove off of his U-Haul, going over 2 curbs and onto the freeway.
Oh, my boys! My boys!
Tickets? Maniac! Oh, my boys. Oh.
It's once again, it's the most upsetting thing. I'll never know what caused it. My personal theory was I
I
triggered.
think you got too close to him, and he thought that you were going to hit on him.
Could have been that. Maybe he just thought that and just flipped out, like in some strange way. And he must have been on drugs, I think, because that's a way overreaction.
It could be schizophrenia.
It could have been schizophrenia because he looked. I'm going to say this. He did look like sort of like a homeless guy, but he obviously had a car and a U-Haul, so I don't know what.
That
but
could
he
be
could have
his
lived
car.
out of it.
Right,
That could have been his home.
That U-Haul. No, like in all.
It might be.
Right. No, like in all seriousness.
He opened up that U-Haul and there's just a cot and like a
Wicker furniture.
furniture.
And a Coleman grill.
It's his own park bench.
I never saw him again.
So he never came.
He never actually kept his promise.
How many years ago was this?
Like 5 or 6.
So he's still alive. He's out.
Although everyone knows the old homage, revenge is the dish best served cold. So I'm always
waiting for the day for you to forget it.
He
And he comes in and he just slams his hand down on the bar, gets real close, and he says, "Cheesesteak, motherfucker."
and that's when he shoots me. And it's like the shovel slayer from Home Alone when he shot me with bloody hand on the
Yep.
Drew, you gotta like grade A stalker in real life.
Well, not yet. It has to happen one more time.
I think he's a grade C stalker.
And as for the $15 copayment, he shouldn't die.